Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. We are recapping a draw today, Justin, not a loss. I remember us doing these draws back earlier in the season and, getting frustrated at how many draws. But I think, telling my, 28 and a half year old self, not 29 now, enjoy those draws while they last, buddy, because the losses pile up as well, just like they have this season. But it was a rivalry game. Justin, you were there in the seats. You were taking it all in. Tell us from the fan perspective, how was it last night with a 1-1 draw in Kansas?
The fans showed out, Jake. I was extremely impressed. And honestly, that was my first time going to Children's Mercy Park, just in general, just for any game, not even just a city game versus Kansas City. But the fans showed out. We absolutely owned I guess that would be the southeast corner. You could see that on our story. And then I just bought the general admission tickets that we had there. And it was actually kind of cool. So when we think about our stands that we have, the wall where all of our supporters stand the entire game, on the opposite side, from where they would have that in Kansas City, they're all just GA tickets. It's first come, first serve. So you just buy it, but then you just got to get there early enough if you want to get seats of 6, as we had a group of 6. So I thought it was a pretty cool park as well. They had Busch Lights on sale. I was absolutely shocked they even sold Busch Lights in Kansas City. I thought that would be completely Boulevard. And then they had a giveaway, too, of a rally towel. And that's kind of something that I was kind of texting you about. The rally towel, if you clicked on it, it had lights that would then flash up within it. And at halftime, they turned all the lights off and they had people wave. It was kind of cool. It was still a little bit too bright at this point in the season, but if it was dark outside, it would have been tight. But overall, pretty cool.
No, I'm glad you had that to say. I think take the actual, place, Children's Mercy Park, and I think it's a cool place to watch a soccer game for sure. I mean, I've been there many a time. But it's just like the environment around it is just like you're a parking lot capital of the world with all the different, outlets and malls and restaurants and all that stuff out there. I feel like it'd be like us if we stuck City Park like west on 40, like almost close to like St. Charles. Like that's kind of the vibe I feel like that is out there.
It was next to the Speedway, which I was telling other people I want to come up there for a Speedway event because then out there is where you would do it, kind of like the Worldwide Speedway over in Illinois. I do want to give a quick shout out to Jake. One, Mondo and City Refs. It was his birthday on Saturday. Happy birthday to him. And it was really cool to see those guys. They had some pretty good seats, all inclusive. So they really balled out. And then Carter, Connor, and Cole Kramer stopped me in the concourse, took a picture with those guys, talked to them about ball watching and soccer for a while. It was really cool to see a call out in a different city. And then also Scott and Kelsey. I saw them at Imperial Brewery during the day there. So I told everybody that I'd give them all a quick shout out. It's really cool to see one city travel that much, but then two people that still notice us outside of St. Louis.
I'm jealous, man. Were you in a signing booth out there with people? That's awesome.
When the brothers asked me for a pic, I was like, me? I thought like someone else was walking by, but no, it was really cool. And it's awesome to see the following that City still has in the season that we're having right now.
That's actually what I wanted to start with is, we'll go into the starting 11 into the recap for the game, but I'd say one of the biggest highlights for me, and it's not unexpected, is just watching the broadcast and Joseph on here saying the same thing. Predominantly City. Like it looked like it was a red out last night was the theme of the game because all I saw in that sea of people were City red jerseys. And I feel like listening to the broadcast too, it felt like a semi-home game. I mean, obviously looking at City Park, it's a lot more loud and raucous when, we're playing there, but basically picking up the supporters and dropping them in Kansas for this match, it's something to be proud about because, obviously Kansas City's been a club for a while now and, they claim to have this big level of fandom. And I know that we have a long way to go to get to that level of tenure, but the amount of pride that our fans and supporters take in this team, win, lose, draw, whatever it is, that's something to pay attention to and something I think that I feel proud about watching the broadcast. So kudos to St. Louis. I mean, the fans were absolutely hyped last night.
No, it was great. The chants that we had were just as loud as the supporter side on the other stadium. Other side of the stadium. I was closer, obviously, to our fans and paying more attention to them, but absolutely showed out. And obviously, it's a very stark contrast in the colors. And you're talking about, Jake, when you see it on TV, it's like there's red. We didn't just have a section. There was red sprinkled in and out throughout the entirety of the stadium. So big kudos to the fans for traveling over.
Well, good stuff. Let's get into the 11, Justin. It was when I saw that graphic come out last night with the 11, it felt like a kind of a hodgepodge of players without, some real semblance of a formation that we're used to seeing with this team. And I think all that because they played a back three last night, which rarely, maybe once or twice, I feel like in Carnell's tenure to be roll with that, not counting the times that he might have shifted to it mid-game. But we lined up with Berkey. We lined up with our back three of Hebert, Parker, and Jay Reed. We lined up with Klein, Watts, Blum, and Totland across the midfield. So a 3-4-2-1. The 2-1 being Toyert and Leuven underneath Thor. So again, health considered, you'd probably want to maybe see Kojima get a start in there. Some people might have qualms with Watts, but again, I personally liked going back to Hebert in the central position. I thought he actually played well last night. I thought Tim Parker had a really strong game last night. Jay Reed, I don't love that position for him, but he excels, I feel like, wherever you stick him on the field because of his pace and his prowess and his skills. I really love watching each game of his. The person I feel like that probably the most hard done, Justin, on this 11 was probably Klein. I just feel like him kind of getting lost on the left, having to track back as well. Not that he wasn't great at doing that. I think he, again, is great presser of the ball, has a good off the ball knowledge, but I think some of his skill is lost when he's not playing centrally, which is what we got used to. But what were your thoughts, Justin, the 11? Obviously, Toyhurt coming in was a huge plus.
I mean, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. I was so hyped. I mean, we figured he'd be starting. You're kind of wondering what would happen with Jicker with Reich, and obviously he came in later in the game. We'll touch on that later. But yeah, the back three was something that I was a little nervous about, and I do feel for Johnny Klein just because we talked about it. Him and Kojima are utility players, but it's kind of hard to get a rhythm if you're always moving around right side of the field, left side of the field, middle. Kind of at this point, Johnny Klein was almost playing like a fifth left back in this game, so not something that he typically plays. So that I do feel for him there, but it is good to see that he's still in that starting 11 just because he is a utility guy and he can kind of play wherever we want.
Justin got Carter following up in the stream. Carter, welcome to the show. Thanks for saying that to Justin last night. You clearly made his evening when City could not. But Justin, last thing I'll say about 11, I said the person that probably the most hard done by the formation. I'd also, this is hindsight, but I could have told you it'd be a little bit difficult finding him in this game was Leuven. He, I think, is much more impactful, a little bit deeper in our midfield, and him sitting underneath Thor and with Toyert last night. I mean, there wasn't many touches his way, especially in the second half. So I think really minimized his impact. But again, some of these things are being done out of just pure necessity at this point. So I can't be too hard on Hack. And I'll actually pull a quote from the post-game press conference as well as we get to the bottom of this here, Justin. But one of the things I noticed off the drop from the game was a sense of urgency in the team. And I loved it because it came from two of our newer guys. Toyert and Totland both were on the giving side of two pretty hard challenges really early on in the game. I'm talking like first 2 minutes. So I made a note of that just to say that these guys are the newest blood to the club, especially Toyert, obviously. And putting the chip on their shoulder, coming out and kind of laying a little bit of lumber to remind them that we're not going to go away, quietly into the night. So I love to see that. And and immediately again, first 5 minutes, I think the fourth minute, Toyert, one of the things he's known to be able to do is to progress the ball up the field on the dribble. He can also pass the ball as well, but he had a mesmerizing carry up the field. I'm talking 30, 40 yards, ended up kind of getting past a couple of guys, a couple bit of luck on his side as well, and had a shot. It was blocked, but to be a City fan and watching him carve through the midfield and defense like that was a breath of fresh air, because I can't name you many players that can do that outside of like a Celio, who obviously we don't even have available right now.
No, it was a breath of fresh air. And I do want to comment on that, Jake. I think with those hard fouls early on, Kansas City was trying to set the tone in this game because we talked about it, and Lutz mentioned it, so did Hackworth. Like, these are now games with Kansas City that it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a grind out. Who can just be clinical when it's needed to be? And it's, I think we saw a little bit of that lacking on both sides of the game this past game. But overall, it's going to be physical anytime we're in Kansas City or they come to us.
And Berkey, my word, the 9th minute, Berkey, I just put it, he is that man. Johnny Russell is streaking in on the right side. I believe he beats Jay Reed, gets a quick shot off. Berkey go down with a quick save, something he should make. The rebound squirts out, I believe, to the top of the 18, where I'm not sure who it was for Sporting, but I think their left back comes in, Leibold maybe,
and
it was Leibold. Takes a ripper with some bend going upper 90 to the far post. Berkey's back up on his feet, anticipates this, gets a great jump, and just gets some fingertips to it and pushes it off the bar. I mean, that second save, that's world class. Like that is not many guys that can make that save. So praise on to Berkey. Praise be his name. What a fantastic save.
And it was absolutely needed, Jake. You talked about it. That's the 9th minute. What was my one goal of this game is to make sure that Kansas City does not score in the first 30 of this game, because that could have really just opened this thing wide up. Like, oh, here we go again. So he's done it time and time again for us. But that save, I cannot thank him enough. That was absolutely massive. And it really cool to watch. We were down on the other end, but seeing him just like sky through in front of the goal and make a fingertip save, it was hard for me to tell if he got fingers on it from way back from where we were sitting. But good God, what an awesome save to see on the recap as well. And then I would say another highlight that we have after that was all the way into the 22nd minute. Sporting Kansas City streaks down to our right side after Kyle Hebert got sucked in, cut back, and Parker then escorts the ball out of the box and steps up and blocks a shot as well. I do think that this is one where if we had a little bit more time with Hebert and Parker, or Nilsson and Parker, it's hard with a center back grouping that has kind of been interchangeable because of injuries or with Hebert being out with the Canadian national team. But I do think that Parker has done solid to end up be blocking shots in those parts. I do think some of his decision-making has been a little bit slow and him kind of either deciding to go or when to pass and when to go long, but he does make some good plays there. And I think that was an important one as well to keep us stuck in.
And I love your take on that, because I think the rotation, especially in the center back space, has been one of our Achilles heels this season. I think my theory on Parker in the game that he had last night is that when you're playing with a back three, and you would know better than I from your playing days, but when you're the guy that's central in that three, I feel like you have a little more freedom to know that if you're going to step up, you've got two guys behind you that are willing to kind of take that space that you're leaving behind. And for him last night, I feel like all my highlights of him were blocking shots, stepping up, playing free, getting that foot in front of the ball before the pass gets to the forward's foot. And I feel like that back three let us see the version of Parker that we got acquainted to last year. And it let him play a space and, defend forward that I feel like is where his strengths come to play the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that it would be, yes, Tim Parker's getting up there in age, and now we have Jake Gerwood right, and you're talking like, well, now Hebert's back, and whenever Nilsson gets healthy, like who's going to be our center back duo? I think Parker has done well in the smaller things of blocking shot, like maybe not always like the highlights, but like knocking guys off the ball, getting in and blocking shots. It's just that last decision-making, in my opinion, that where he's just been a little bit out of position or tries to play a ball with his right foot when he could easily clear with his left. We've had a couple of those this season, but it is good to see that he is still kind of sticking around and kind of still helping us get to where we need to be. But right now, I don't know if he's the guy, like looking forward next season, if he's going to be our for sure starting center back.
Yeah. Two things before we get to the Thor, potential second yellow, Justin. One was Leuven had a great forward pass through ball into Toyert that was blocked, but Thor got on top of it and played it back in for Toyert, who was offsides in this moment, but had a good shot on. And you could see Toyert kind of making those runs in behind, the IQ that he brings to this forward line, which I was loving seeing. In the 30th minute, little low to high with our back line, just got beaten behind. Blum just got dunced by Shallowy. Shallowy let loose a shot on a tight angle. Berkey has that quick reaction save, sort of the swat, just to get some fingertips on it and get it over the bar. So again, 30th minute, keeping us in this game, keeping it tied at 0-0. In the 36th minute, we get a little bit of controversy. So Thor's already taken a yellow earlier on in the game, and this is probably a couple minutes ago. And now it's the 36th minute. He goes to play a ball and kind of steps over to kind of block out the oncoming attacker with his foot, ends up kind of getting some higher contact, or at least stomping on the foot of this guy. No call by the referee in terms of the yellow, because it would have been quick succession. You basically yellow a couple minutes ago to another yellow now. And I think the referee in his mind is managing this game, understanding that both of those are probably yellows on their own, but knowing the game state and giving a red card in the first half hour of the game probably isn't the best move from a competition and just integrity perspective. So he does not give the yellow. The replays don't look good, I'm not going to lie, on the broadcast. And the referee was asked about it after too, Justin. But what was the reaction on the field, inside Children's Mercy Park when the second challenge went down?
They were showing the replay. So on that second yellow I'll touch, they were showing the replay in the stands. I'm like, oh God, like this does look bad. People were uproar on this. I would agree, Jake, and I'll let you kind of talk on what the ref said after the game. I do want to quickly show from me watching visually, this first yellow is just dumb. I understand they're on a counter, but like we're in a good spot here. And he just pulls him down, pulls down and got us. So I'm like, Thor, why? Like, look at where we're at. They literally have, what is that, shallow E up top, and then we have
Yeah.
5 defenders around him. There's no need. I'm all for ending counterattacks. You know that I'm huge on that, but not like that.
Yep.
You've got to let one of the guys step up and not let the ball and man get by you. You can't just grab a guy and pull him down, because one, it's 33 minutes in the game. Then you have to completely change your playing style for the rest of the game. And then two, just like you said, it was literally 3 minutes later, he could have been sent off.
Yeah. Great form on the takedown, but the wrong time to do it. I totally agree. We had coverage. So yeah, on the challenge. So obviously the referee was asked about this after the game. They don't do press conferences, but it sounds like a pool reporter got to talk to the referee, and they said, in the opinion of the referee, why did the foul called on Nukvi Thorson for his challenge on Nemanja Rodoja in the 36-minute not rise to the level of serious foul play? If it's serious foul play, that could be pulled in for review for a red card challenge. Otherwise, you can't review second yellows. That's not a thing for VAR. And all the referee had to say was the same thing twice, because he was pressed on it again. So the challenge was committed in a careless manner and did not rise to the level of serious foul play due to the negligible force. So I think if we're City fans and that happens to us, we probably feel pretty hard done, especially with what's coming here in a couple seconds. But again, I get it. For managing that game as a referee, you don't want to send a guy off in a rivalry match. Like, that's the last thing you want to do, especially within 30 minutes basically of the game starting. So I think Thor is lucky to get off on that one, but it's lucky for us because he ends up on the score sheet just a few minutes later, which has got to boil the blood of those Sporting KC faithful.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to do a little goal vision here, Jake. So we'll just kind of let this play through, and we'll kind of just talk everybody through it as it's going. So ball gets cleared. Akil Watts does well here, moves it on with his head. See, gets up, gets the ball up. I think that was huge right there by him. I think that is one thing that I could easily see Watts try to cut back, and that you see a sliding defender by Kansas City. He knows when he plays his ball, he just got to get it off his foot, because you have Toyhert, Klein, Thor all running, and Leuven coming in behind as well. So you just got to get it up there, thump it up there. Great ball by him there. Falls to Johnny Klein. Johnny Klein brings it up, does a quick touch to Thor. And this is where I'm like, look at Leuven, Jake. This feels like a Sam goal to me. For anybody that's not seeing this, all of the defenders are on the other side of the PK spot. Leuven is like, I am way over, almost have 15 yards of space. You draw a circle around him, probably 15 yards wide open. Thor is not getting his head up on this. Defender goes down as Thor cuts it. As Thor cuts it, he also eats it and is like crawling to stand up back on the ball. But then it kind of draws the defender back in. He does a touchback, and then another touchback, and then a nice finish into the side. Thank God he scored that. I think Leuven may have taken his head off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to give, by the way, I thought it was one of the poorer games I've seen Thor play recently, but that goal was the saving grace for him. A lot of composure. He could have gone down. That could have been a laughing stock, but I think he played it really, really well and kept it composed despite almost going down there. One thing I want to say too, Justin, on the Watts of it all, if you back it up to the very beginning of that highlight with Watts, we got to give the man his credit. I do think, like you said, in maybe past circumstances here, he could have been caught dilly-dallying on this ball and dribbling and just getting stuffed. But him playing that ball into a dangerous area, I'm not even saying it was meant for one single person, but he knew there was numbers there. We would get that ball. I think that was a great bit of play from him. And I think, man, yeah, Leuven sitting on this back post, had we not finished that, he would have bitten Thor's head off. I mean, it would have been absolutely crazy.
I mean, not only that, but like right here, I understand Thor's he's kind of heart rate's up, one for making a run, two for falling down, but like get your head up right here. If you at least see Johnny Klein and then he dummies it for Leuven, this is the easiest goal that we would have all season. And he's just taken so many touches in the box. And yes, he's got the great finishing touch. I just wish that he would have looked up a little bit quicker there, because God, it felt like a very Sam goal in my opinion.
Another thing very small I didn't mention on the build-up there is Klein getting that ball that was sent in from Watts. We kind of gave him a little bit of trouble last game for his decision-making and being a little bit slow or making the wrong decision even. And last night with that, just that one sequence, that's all I'm going to speak to, is that's what you want to see. That one touch, and it's away from your feet, and it's on, and you keep going. The momentum keeps going. We have numbers that are flying forward. There's no put the ball, underneath your foot and wait for guys to get forward. It's let's go with the flow. We have the advantage here, and it pays off. So, I mean, I'd say ultimately a well-worked goal from a lot of our forward lines. So I'm happy with that. And it's totally against the run of play. Not that we were being battered, but Kansas City definitely had the better of the play in the first half, and obviously in the second half, because we open up the second half with an early chance. Thor right off the drop, off a Toyhert header and behind. The angle a little bit too tight for Thor to get anything seriously troubling Tim Melia on that one. By the way, going back to the goal, Justin, that was the one shot on target we had all night. So we can, yeah. And there's not going to be any highlights with shots in this one. A lot of the highlights that we're going to talk about here in the second half are Tim Parker or our defensive line or Berkey just standing on their head and keeping this game not at level before they obviously end up getting their goal and we go equalized.
Yeah, Jake, I'm going to jump actually to a low light real quick that I told you about, and I'll share screens again on this. For anybody that saw it on our story as well, we give up a free kick, which we typically do. I would say it's probably 25, 30 yards out, right edge of the box. I mean, it's going to be one that's either going to be whipped in or shot on target, or typically where the ball does come in here, you put it like if it doesn't get touched by anybody, it sneaks in the far post. This is extremely frustrating to me. I think we're doing good marking up. It looks like we do have an additional guy in the back on Jay Reed here, so it would be way better to have somebody drop off here a little bit. But the way that this ball is played, it is such a poorly hit free kick. I will say the wall right here, the wall is, I believe, Thor, Watson, Kojima. And if you look at this, Kojima has to roll off with the runner, so that's fine with me there. But this ball, as I have it paused here, should just be easily just hit one of the guys in the knees or the stomach or anything in that case. However, the wall just completely opens up, and these guys are literally turning sideways in this. And that's what and then it just sneaks right through, and it would have been an extremely frustrating one to give up there, because if you look at this, and I'll stop sharing my screen and see if you can see it on my phone, the guys are just turning absolutely sideways. They just turn into a post. This should easily hit Watts right in the stomach or Thor in the stomach. And that's one of those things that Berkey has just been getting frustrated about, because if you're setting up a wall, he's assuming any ball that's going right there is getting blocked. And it just gets snuck right between them. You could see him right afterwards. He just stares at them like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, brutal. I mean, this stuff's just elementary. I remember, being in grade school and having my dad was my coach, and I remember him just pinging us on the wall. Shout out to Tony Bright. He took probably 3 or 4 of those in a row, maybe from my dad as well. So, I mean, you can't turn your back. You got enough guys there. You got to get something there. The goalie clearly tries to build this wall so that, we can prevent this stuff from happening, but doesn't work out for us. At least it doesn't lead to a goal, but the wall's got to be better there. I totally agree. A lot of that beginning part of the first half that we kind of skipped over, Justin, is just most of us kind of just being pinned back and defending, kind of with our lives a little bit. There's not much offensive presence at all. There's counters from Tommy, who I think had a good game for Sporting last night. Obviously a big threat from there. One thing I did notice a lot, Justin, before we talk about their goal, we did have a Leuven free kick that bent perfectly over the wall and off the post. Would have been an exceptional finish right before Sporting equalized. But one of the big things I want to hit on with Sporting last night, I don't know if you noticed it in the stands, but I think there was some frustration in this team because of some of the failures to qualify for the Olympics. There was a general, I feel like, amount of diving that these guys have been pretty, adamant that they were meant to be on the team heading over to Paris for this installment of the Olympics, but they didn't get onto the team, and they decided just to keep diving last night in frustration and just not being picked there. I mean, the amount of times I can count where I watched this team just pull up the legs on a really, really simple challenge, something with not much contact at all. There was definitely some challenges last night too, but there were so many other ones where I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? This is brutal. Like it's rare that it's probably like one game a season, I feel like, where I feel like that at the end of the game, because all teams do a little bit of it. We do it. But last night, it was insane. Did you notice that at all when you're watching?
I did, Jake, and that was going to be what I was going to talk about when we get to the stats. We had 15 fouls. They had 13. That's 28 total fouls. Yep. Wow, it's a long day. 28 total fouls in a 90-minute game. That means that the ball is being stopped every 3 minutes or so for a foul. And that's not even talking about corner kicks, throw-ins. It's just you can't get any consistency and rhythm when you have that many fouls in a game. And a lot of that was due to the diving. It felt very broken. And I think that's the best way to put it. It was broken in the sense of, like, it didn't feel like true soccer. It was a very broken up game. There was no flow to it whatsoever. And it's frustrating as a fan.
Agreed. Sporting gets their goal in the 73rd minute. We are pinned back like we have been for most of the second half. We've made subs. We brought on Kojima and Marcanic for Toyert and Klein, and it doesn't help us. We cannot relieve pressure. The release valve is not there for us, and Sporting gets their goal back. They work it around quickly to the left. They kind of recycle it back around to Polito, who plays a really well-worked dinked kind of ball back post to Willie Agata, who's just the hungry man there. I mean, he makes a great run. He's between Parker and Jay Reed, neither of whom end up challenging him for that, but it's literally worked on the goal line. Berkey has no chance to get up and grab this. And that's just the result of an overload of pressure over time, where the bit of quality that they have with Polito and Agata to be there for the finish, that's going to happen when you're pinned back and you have no release to get forward or to just give your guys time to recover or get your shape back. That's what's going to happen. I mean, they just eventually just overwhelmed us, and then it kept going the rest of the game. But what were your thoughts on that equalizer, Justin?
So two quick things on this one. So I think this is where the back three hurt us as opposed to a back four. So you can watch this here as we kind of play through it. This is Kyle Hebert. He's kind of watching the ball, and he's kind of closing out that guy, and he does well to push him back, kind of does a drop pass. Now, where you look at this is where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 City dudes without a single Kansas City guy between them. You know where he's at? Backside. We don't have a right back that it should be sitting there. You see Hebert kind of trying to get back here. Almost that's like a little half pick here. I think this is Polito, kind of like it. Hebert's heavy legs, doesn't get out there in time. Jay Reed, I don't even think he knows whoever the hell this is back here is even here. And so this should be Parker's guy and Willie Agata. However, Parker is caught ball watching. Who are you marking here, man? And I understand. I mean, this is a very well clipped in ball. I don't know if Roman Berkey needs to be outside of the post in this sense either. I'm not going to blame all this on him because this is a perfectly little dinked ball over the top, but absolutely ball watching between Parker and Reed. Reed, I will say, like I said, he's probably looking at the guy in the back post or at least trying to get his eyes on him. And he probably still needs to get up for this ball, and it's just too late at this point. That's Willie Agata. He's hammering this thing home. He's a foot out from the goal. That thing could have broke the net with how much power he put on that header. And that's something it's like, so I would say a mix of things. Ball watching from Kyle Hebert, not getting back out wide. Ball watching from Tim Parker. And then I would say Berkey probably could have been in a little bit of a better position, but it was also a great ball in.
I think my explanation, Justin, on why that might have happened is I think Berkey, Parker, most of our defense, not the setup. I'm saying right before the cross comes in, I think most of those guys are expecting cutback. So just laced on the ground, back up towards the 6, in which case Berkey would love to try to cut that out. You have Tim Parker looking for the clearance, but again, I think the angle is kind of tight there. And I don't think you can just totally let your man go just because you think it'll be a cutback cross. So I agree. I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's an awful goal to concede, but again, I think we are a little bit out of position. Hebert, whether it was him or the right midfielder, who I think was Kojima at that time, who should have picked up Polito. Someone should have, absolutely. Communication needs to be there, and we hopefully can prevent that one in the future. But not a goal where I'm just, immensely frustrated with us. I mean, that happens.
No, I completely agree. The one last thing I'll say on this too, Jake, it looks like as I'm rewatching it from this side angle, Berkey actually does a little bit of like a stutter step. And I don't know if he didn't think the ball was going to continue to float, but just watch him just on this right here. When I hit play, you see his feet and then, it's going to go over my head. So I think that's one that he would also like to have back because we've had a couple of these goals that are almost floated over him or he can't get his hands on them. And so I think overall, I agree with you. It's not a goal that I'm really that upset about with the team, but also we're winning on the road again. We got to find a way to get 3 points, and this one just was a dagger.
Finally, just to kind of round us out, we couldn't get out after that. They were pressing for the winner. We were pressing to not lose this match, but we did get to see Jake Gerwood-Reich make his debut for the team alongside Caden Glover coming to the game for Watson Thor around the 82nd minute. I had a little low to high comment to finally call it before we go into the rest of this, Justin. That was, we finally earned a corner kick. We got the pressure relieved. We're upfield finally, late on in the game. Everyone's kind of taking a collective breath, and Leuven just skies this corner, doesn't even enter the field of play. Melia then accidentally played a goal kick. He meant to kind of pull the foot off as he's about to hit it, but nicked it just enough. And Caden Glover pounces on this rebound. He kicks it off of Melia, who makes a great save to track it, kind of stay with it. And then Leuven gets the rebound and smokes Glover with the rebound shot. I mean, can you imagine we win this game and it's on that play? It's 2023 all over again.
I was so confused. When watching this, it was obviously down in the far end. I was just like, wait, what just happened with this? Like, even the camera angle wasn't ready. And they're like, what is going on with this? And oh my God, you show that to people overseas and they're like, yep, That's got the MLS written all over it.
Yeah, yeah, that gives them a lot of fuel. I mean, overall last night, I mean, Sporting dominated almost every statistic category. We had the better of the defense, obviously, because we were playing defense the entirety of the game. If I look at some performances I was pretty happy with, like I said, I already mentioned Parker. I thought Hebert played solid last night at the right center back position. Otherwise, for me, I think it was a night of Berkey, who I want you to talk about a little bit. Obviously, you had a great view on a couple of his first half saves. But I'm going to give some kudos and my heart and soul of the team to actually Akil Watts. And I mean, if you'd have told me that'd be my heart and soul of the team before that match, I don't know what I would have done, but I would have said, you're on drugs. But anyway, I thought Akil had a good match. I think this is one, he comes in, we don't have much central midfield depth now that Durkin's out for this match with suspension on yellow card accumulation, but I think he did a job. Do I want to see this more? Not necessarily, but he had 2 successful dribbles. He was strong on the ball, 10 defensive actions. He won 9 of his 14 ground duels, 1-for-1 on aerial duels. And I think he was an influencer in the game. I think he was strong. He was solid on the ball. And overall, I was not expecting that, because every time he's put in central midfield, I feel like we end up coming away and saying, why does this ever happen again? Because it happens time and time again, when we need it to sometimes. And I thought he acquitted himself well last night. So I do want to give him props for a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I've been down on Akil Watts, and we even talked about it before this one. I do think that he had a solid game last night. I still don't think that he should be a consistent starter for this team. I was impressed with him. And then we said just to get the ball off his foot. But, without him making that pass, we don't score our goal. So I do want to give him props to that. My heart and soul juice player of the game, Mr. Roman Berkey. We already talked about the flying saves. And it's just it's a mixture of that. And we're currently a team that, with the amount of injuries and changing in lineups that we have, this guy's a leader for our team as well. So I would say it's not just what he's doing with his hands and his feet, but also with his voice and the way he's leading this team. So with him, more specifically, he faced an XG of shots on goal of 2.23. So he basically prevented an additional 1.23 goals for us. Obviously, that is the main reason that we were able to get out of there with a tie. So my heart and soul juice player of the game is Mr. Roman Berkey. Go to souljuice.com, get 20% off using code BALLWATCHING. Go to Schnucks, Deerberg, Straub's, Mobile on the Runs in Missouri as well. Go get some soul juice. The weather's been a little bit cooler now, Jake, but anybody that's outside, soul juice is just refreshing. I don't know what you're doing, and it's not as sugary as Gatorade. There's not as all these preservatives. 3 main ingredients. You have Korean pear, lemon, and water, and that is it. There's nothing else going into this. Go get your soul juice today.
And talking about Berkey, Justin, I mean, this guy's been doing it for years now at this level. Someone else that's been doing it for years at a high level is our partner for 2024, Hoffman Brothers. They are a full-service residential and commercial, for all you small businesses and businesses out there, provider for both St. Louis and Nashville. They've been doing it for more than 40 years here in St. Louis. They do heating, air conditioning, plumbing, drains, sewer, water heaters, all the stuff that you don't want to do as a homeowner. That's the stuff they're here to take care of for you. They take care of their people, and they will take care of you. So make sure, if you have any home services like the ones that I just mentioned that you have some need for, make sure you give Hoffman Brothers a call at 314-664-3011 or visit them online at hoffmanbros.com.
And do not be afraid to call them because you don't know what's going on. I know Jake and I both do not know what's going on with the majority of those services. These guys will come out. They'll let you know. They're not just going to charge you thousands of dollars when they show up either. These guys are the most personable people. You see the weather's going to start kicking up into the 90s again and starting next weekend. Do not wait for the AC to go out. Be preventive and call the Hoffman Brothers.
Amen. Justin, last thing I want to say on the game before we go to our predictions, Grammars, and post-game is I actually saw an uptick in the mentality that I could see last night from this team. I didn't see a lot of waving hands or woe is me or, finger pointing or just the negativity that I feel like we've seen come to life recently. I actually saw a little bit more of the fight for each other come into this. Not that we were fighting, in the game to claw back that win or anything like that, but I saw the boys play together. And that was something that I hadn't really felt that way recently. So did you have any thoughts on that as you were watching the game last night?
No, I do. And I do think that I had a little bit of a worry when we're bringing in Toyer, Hartel, and Gerwood Reich. It's like, and we just obviously got rid of Sam. We got rid of AZ. There's a lot of changing parts in the locker room, and all at the helm as well as Hackworth, who is an incredible dude. But it's hard to really get that many personalities all on the same page. But I do think that this team is starting to fight and kind of believe in that. And I do think that we need that right now because as we kind of talk into it, Jake, I'm going to bring us straight into the magic number. It's not looking great for us. And so for anyone that's new to this, we've currently played we have 9 games left, and we have currently 23 points. Our magic number, so basically how many points we would need to do these next 3 parts to be home field advantage in the playoffs. We need 32 points. Not mathematically possible. We're not going to make the top 4 spots. 28 points for it to be in the top 7. So positions 5, 6, and 7 to be out of the wild card spot, but actually it's already into the first round. 28 points. 3 times 9 is 27. Not mathematically possible. So we're really looking at this magic number for the wild card game. And so this would just be to be that 8th or 9th spot. The calculation as of right now currently means we need 23 points in our last 9 games. What does that mean, and what do we need to do as a team? Math-wise, that means that we would need at least 7 wins and 2 draws out of our last 9 games to make the playoffs, or 8 wins and 1 loss. So 8 wins and a loss would get us 24 points. 7 wins and 2 draws would give us those 23 points. So for City fans, if we're looking at the playoffs, it's not looking great. When you look at the next 3 games, Portland, 8th in the West, LA Galaxy, 1st in the West. Both of those teams are currently in a playoff position and fighting to keep their home field advantage. If you're the Galaxy or if you're Portland, trying to sneak out of the wild card into the first round, it's going to be tough for us. But I think a kind of a shining spot that we'll touch on in these next couple of weeks too, as well as Leagues Cup. I would say the Leagues Cup hardware, Jake, in my opinion, let me know your thoughts. Going far in League Cup, it's going to be completely different than how we thought about it last year. I think this is going to be, wow, we're kind of already done with the MLS season. We're not going to make the playoffs, or if we do, we're going to be sneaking in, limping in. Can we win the Leagues Cup in August?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think this is going to be something that the club will be forced to prioritize, at least to a certain point now, because it's our only really chance to make waves, I think, in this season. And also, when have we really played a solid knockout game where we put on a great performance? So I think it's a chance to go out and find what this team is about when their back's against the wall in a win or go home type game. So I want to see us, for me, looking at this, and we'll talk a lot more about Leagues Cup as we get into it, but obviously you've got to get out of the group. 2 of the 3 teams got out of the group. We have a very, very weak group, all things considered. So I think you've got to go and win a knockout game. And I think I would be happy to get that experience there. And so I will look at the bracket and, parse who that team could be that we'd face in the knockout stages. But I think you got to get out of the group. That is a minimum. And I think for me, I'd even move the minimum up to win your first knockout game. That's to me a sign of this team just progressing. And it's not huge leaps and bounds. This is just incremental.
And I do think it's important, Jake. Like you said, we went to the playoffs last year and lost both games to Kansas City. Can we prove that we actually deserve to be in the playoffs and can win a meaningful game when our butt's on the line? Like at this point, it's regular season games. You lose a game, you tie a game, you win a game. It doesn't really matter. It all adds up. So it does matter in totality. But a specific game, can we get these new guys integrated enough? And can we focus and get a team that's working together and prove that this team can be successful? And I think they can. Absolutely have to get out of the group. FC Dallas is trash. Juarez, I think they've won 9 of their last 34 in Liga MX in the last 2 years or last season. And they're not doing hot this year as well. Have to get out of the group. And I would say have to win that next knockout game and be at least competitive in the next one, if not win, and make some waves and show this city that everybody's been supporting you for, even with a lackluster season, that we are here to give back to the fans.
100%. Well, let's just round this episode, Justin. Predictions, Grahammers. You bet the draw at 2-2. Congratulations on that. Not spot on, but you got the result there. I bet 3-1W. Did not come out good there. And neither of our bets hit, with you having the team total over 1.5, me having the over 3.5. I bet a bunch of other goal-laden spreads or bets, and I just got rocked last night. So the bank account needs some prayers for anyone that's listening.
It's so tough because you're supposed to bet with your head, not your heart. And like betting with my head would be to take City under 1.5 every time, and it's like City under 1.5 goals and like the other team's double chance. But I'm not doing that. Like, yeah, my bank account's hurting too. Like being in Kansas, not good for you, boy. It's like, oh, it's halftime. Maybe I'll bet on us to win again. It's like, it's not great, but hey, we're here. We're enjoying it. We're having fun.
Final comments on the game. Hack said the formation they went with in this match, the 3-4-2-1, was designed to put Sporting under pressure in their own building. But when Kansas City didn't really come to play out of the back, which they often do, we had to make some adjustments. He said the game becomes about playing in behind for both teams. It became a really intense 1v1 battle. And you saw that come out, pretty early on in the game. Hack also said in the very beginning, it's hard to sit here again because I felt like we made progress last night. I would agree. To give up the equalizer in that way that we give it up, that's going to sting for some time. I'm glad to hear that he's taking that personally. Again, not that it was a awful goal to concede, but one that you can definitely do better on. And the last thing I want to make people aware of too is we are hoping and praying that Marcel Hartel would be able to join us last night. But due to all the CrowdStrike issues and everything that seems to impact every facet of our life at this point, he was not able to get on the plane in time. So he's actually still in Europe. As of this morning, at least, or as of the press conference last night. So he will be here soon. I think he will get his unveiling at the Leagues Cup and hopefully get some more butts and seats there, Justin. But with the Leagues Cup mentioned, just really quickly for you all, we're going to take a little bit of a break off of the traditional preview recap format that we've been doing for this entire season so far, at least through the group stage. I think if we're going to really pick back up here, we're going to take it based on how seriously this team is taking it. So I think if we're able, we'll do some stuff. It might be some more shorter form content or just kind of something off the cuff. But just a reminder for you all, Leagues Cup will be 2 games guaranteed for us, both at home. One on July 27th at 8 p.m. on Saturday against FC Dallas. One on Sunday, August 4th against FC Juarez. But both those games are at 8 p.m. on home, one Saturday, one Sunday. Tickets are as affordable as you're ever going to see at City Park. And we have a special guest interview, Justin, you'll be conducting very shortly here. Then we'll release to everyone this week around some cool stuff coming on about that. But any thoughts, Justin, on Leagues Cup before we wrap?
Yeah, I think we're not going away from you guys. I think it's for Jake and I. It's been a lot these last couple of weeks with these games and just repetitiveness of Wednesday, Saturday. So I would say that look for us to do like a quick 5-minute preview or something. We'll put something out there so everybody knows, especially on Juarez, because that's a team that no one really knows much about. Same with the recap on these. But I would say group stage games, we're going to be a little bit lay low, a little more. Get to the games. For anybody that hasn't been, like Jake said, right now, I think you can literally go out there with fees, get in there for $34. So go get into the game and enjoy it. Like City Park is still rocking. It's an awesome experience, regardless if you like soccer. If you have that family member that's like, oh, I'm not a big soccer fan, go down there, enjoy the food, get to the pitch, get some drinks and frozen Irish coffee, go support the guys. So it's Saturday night versus FC Dallas and then Sunday night against Juarez. But it's a perfect little night to go and enjoy it. It's as the summer's kind of coming to a close and people are getting back into school. This is the cheapest you'll ever see City tickets. Go enjoy it. Get to the Leagues Cup games. It's going to be fun to watch. We're going to have some new unveilings of players. We're going to have Hartel play. You're probably going to see Gerwood Wright get a full 90 at start, and you're going to see Toyer start to get a little bit more integrated with these guys. It's going to be a fun tournament.
And there's a lot of cool things the club's planning as well. So again, stay tuned. We will have more on that with our special guest interview coming out here this week. Thank you all for listening today and enjoy the Leagues Cup. I know there's been a lot of drama around it, but I think this will be a fresh set of eyes we can view this team with some of our new signings. And I'm hoping that we really make the most of it. And if you have any ideas for, quick podcasts or quick segments or ideas you guys want us to hit on in this kind of little bit of a break from the traditional preview recap setup, let us know. We will both be around, but I think just kind of taking time to prep for the run-in for the season, not going to be overly exciting, but hopefully witnessing the beginnings of the 2025 season as we get to the end here.
Last thing I want to say on Leagues Cup, Jake, and I know we'll talk about it in our guest interview, but for anybody that's listening, I understand there's a lot of boycotting and frustration with that in relation to the Open Cup. I think everyone needs to take a step back and understand that City is with us on that as well, but unfortunately it's a business. They're not the ones making decisions on if they're in or out of Open Cup and if they're in or out of Leagues Cup. So it's something that we still need to support them. They're supporting us. They're helping us throughout the rest of the season. This is not City's favorable choice to be only in Leagues Cup, not be in Open Cup. So they're kind of hands-tied on this as well, and we'll touch on that in the interview, but kind of approach this with that mindset. I understand people don't want to support Leagues Cup, would rather go back to the Open Cup. I'm in the same boat on that as well, but it's a business. The decisions are made way higher than our club specifically. So I don't think that we should take all of that out on the club.
Agreed. Great point, Justin. And thank you all for listening today on this recap of St. Louis's 1-1 draw in Kansas. All eyes point to September 28th now for the finale of this series. It's going to be incredible now because we have 2 wins, they have 3 wins, and we have 2 draws between us. If we can win at home in September, I think season saved. Write it off as a success, a big A+ all around. It won't be that, but it would be a nice little consolation.
Absolutely. And if anybody doesn't have tickets for that game, start looking now because it's going to be a pricey one. Because regardless of where we're at in the standing, it's going to be a bloodbath and a fun one at City Park.
Amen. Well, everyone, have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you, I'm sure, at some point this week with that interview. And in the meantime, everyone take care, and all for City.
All for City.